Good evening, everybody, and a warm thank you to the organization of this event and this invitation to you, the whole team of Archipop. So I'm Thomas BOURDAUD, and I'm with my colleague Mathias. We're going to present you who we are, what is Plateau Urbain, and what are our main activities. For us, it's like a 1 year anniversary of a partnership with some Czech friends and partners, because we were invited last year for first conference, then we came back in spring, and now we are back here, and we also welcome several partners in Paris to show them around the sites that we manage. We'll go in the details. So this presentation will focus on how to change spaces into places, but it's in order to fit into the thematic of this event. But we're gonna have a broad presentation of the cooperative, who is Plateau Urbain, then some case studies of projects, and a list of do's and don'ts, which is not exhaustive at all. It's just from the experience of Plateau Urbain after 10 years of this activity. Then a short conclusion, and we'll make the transition to the round table with Thomas, who spoke previously.
Yes, thank you. So I will start by the presentation of who we are, because I'm pretty sure that you don't know us, we. So I'm Mathias, I'm a co-founder of the cooperative 11 years ago now. It used to be a non-profit organization, and then we transformed into a cooperative, still social purpose and so on with non-profit, but we are now a cooperative. So the presentation will be not so sexy and cool as yours, I'm sorry, but be tolerant. There's still images in the presentation, so I hope you're gonna find it pleasant. So we used to be a group of friends, actually. We were together at the university studying geography and urbanism. And with my friends, we were seeing each other every week, and we were wondering what to do, how can we be useful to the city of Paris and French cities in which we were working. So I was then working in an architecture office, common architecture office, and city planning and so on. And after a few years, we realized that there are so vacant buildings in Paris, even if the real estate market is crazy, even there is the construction everywhere, there are plenty of empty buildings, and especially empty offices. So in the Paris metropolitan area, there is right now 4.5 million meters square vacant. And it's increasing every year, and it's increasing, and at the same time you have so many new buildings coming and were just built. So right now we have a brand new metro, a brand new express metro, which is under construction, and so many new offices are coming and coming. So here, for example, it's two towers. It's Les Mercuriales. It's close by the highway, just around Paris, and they are fully empty. They were built in the 1970, but now no one's want to use it because it's just an old product. For an hotel, it's complicated. For offices, it's not well located in Paris, so no one's wanted to use it. So we tried to do something in some floors of this buildings. So it's one example of the project that we used to run. So we're connecting spaces empty without people to people who need spaces, and there are plenty in Paris, like in a lot of other cities. For example, this guy Pierre is unemployed. He's too old to find a job that he really want to get involved, and he's doing lettering. He's trying to develop an activity around printing, so he can't afford a normal rent in Paris. So he needs a space, but he doesn't have a lot of money. So our job is to bring together people who have space and people who have who want it. So the first diagnosis at the beginning was property vacancy is a scandal everywhere in Paris. We have to fight to bring people in these places, considering the right to the city. It's a concept explaining that yes, if you have the right to be in the city center, even if you're poor, it's a way to develop yourself way more than connecting for hours and so on. At the same time, for sure, it's a way to reuse building in the city center without constructing new stuff. And now we are avoiding to build new stuff for ecological reasons. So our purpose was to reuse for the people, but also for the planet. And it's a way to, at the beginning, we were like, okay, we're going to try some stuff, and if it works, maybe we can continue and develop our activity again and again. So we presented at the beginning what we do as experiments, and we still are fighting to present it as experiments, because sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes there are quite good stories. So, for example, here you are at the 25th floor of the tower I showed you before, the Mercurial. And here we said to the Paris community with the call for offer, there is some space here. And here there is a woman with working with wool, with textile. She said, okay, I would love to have my workshop here. So that's the kind of view, unexpected view that you can have. You can have an office in the tower and doing some craft here. So that's one example, and it's a way to have a solution, short-term solution. But for sure, what we propose in our building is not a long-term solution. Sometimes it can happen, but we also fight with the local political to find a more long-term solution in other situations. So what we propose to people who are in our buildings, it's cheaper rents than the market, and it's in the city center 70% under the prices of the market, because the owner give it to us for free, and then the people who need space just have to pay water, electricity, internet, and some salaries of people who are working for us. When we are in farthest from the city center, it's maybe 50%. In Bordeaux, in Lyon, or in other cities where we're working, it's maybe 30% less than the city market. But for sure in Paris, it's so high that 70% is what we can do at our best. So it was mainly, we were mainly giving space to people who need space for work, but if it's possible, and as soon as it's possible, we are trying to offer accommodation for people in need, so for housing. So right now we have something like 800,000 people living in the buildings that we are running and managing. In Paris and in Lyon. So it's different kind of people, for sure, migrants, asylum seekers, women in need when they are fighting with them, for several reasons, homeless young people, etc., etc. So it's different types of public. So we are 100 employees now, everywhere in France. Not just employees, because some public authorities are supporting us, some public actors also, some private actors. So there is employees, but not only employees in the cooperative.
Thank you. For the activity of Plateau Urbain is divided in 4 main ranges. Like the main one is site management and property management and facilitation of the project, like the animation of the communities of people occupying the buildings. We also have an activity of cultural lineup and events within our project. And we have a team, like we are part of the study team. It's a project engineering and consulting for owners, which can be private or public owners of sites or buildings, and they contact us, or we apply to some public calls. And we have also this position statement and pleading activity, which is why we are here with you this evening, but also in many different spheres of activities we go and we share our knowledge and we share the experience of Plateau Urbain to students, professionals, politics, and in a lot of different spheres. Site management and co-managed by Plateau Urbain. As Mathias said, it's a bit in the main metropolis of France. Today, like live today, we have about 15 sites that we manage. It's 130,000 square meters in total of activity spaces. It's a total of 1,200 structures, such as artists, NGOs, some small companies, some larger companies, but all in the field of solidarity, environmental issues, crafts, creation, and 800 houseless people. So you see that most of our projects are in the Parisian, greater Parisian area. This is because historically Plateau Urbain is in Paris, and we are well known, and it's an ecosystem in which Plateau Urbain has a strong position, and where the most of the needs also. But we work with the Lyon metropolis also to help the services of the local authorities develop their own tools. So this is something we will talk about later. Two examples of the largest projects that we are managing at the moment. The first one is Les Arches Citoyennes. It's the former office building of the hospitals of Paris. They left the site because of unfit conditions of the building, because of regulations, and it's right in front of the Hôtel de Ville and along the Seine River. At the first, it was supposed to be 1 year and a half experimentation. The building was built by a developer, a private developer, BNP Real Estate, and Plateau Urbain applied and was commissioned to manage the transitory occupation of the building before it's supposed to be renovated, completely transformed. And
yes, it's an office building, a former office building. Since it was constructed in 1890, it's a typical Parisian block, Haussmannian block. It used to be office, and they are trying now to transform it into housing, so with a private developer. And here we are occupying it, but not only we are occupying it, we have the mission to prefigurate the change and to begin to open this block, the inside of the block, to the city. So we have a mission from the owner here, and we are paid by the owner to open the yard that you see here, and so we have a real proper budget in this operation. This is the first project also where we are occupying it for 2-3 years now, but we also buy at the final project. We succeed to buy a small part of the building, 1,000 meters square, but it's still really, really expensive, to continue the kind of activities that we have during the temporary project.
Thank you. Another example of the large project at the moment, it's the project called Césure, which in French means gap year. It's a former university, the Sorbonne University of Human Sciences and Sociology, and this was the intention of the owner, who's the region of Paris, like the Service for University Buildings and Sites, to experiment what could be the university of the future in terms of uses, in terms of publics. So the same, we applied to a call for offer, and Plateau Urbain and partnered with other companies to offer this site, which is today has become one of the most vibrant cultural hub in Paris, but also has some services addressing more publics in social needs. And so it's a very large project. It's why today Les Arches and Césure are the two projects explaining why Plateau Urbain today is a team of almost 100 people, because such projects require technical skills, communication skills, management skills. So Césure, it's a team of 25-30 people in total managing the site. And for example, there's one person or two who are specialized in talking to the occupants. Like every day, they talk to the occupants and they manage the human aspect of the project to be sure that it's a community and that people are making the place together, like living the place. technical skills also, such as water pipes and electricity. Because it was old building, the same, it was not fit for university purpose anymore. So that's why the owner left the building with the intention to refurbish it completely later. But in the meantime, of all the technical studies required for the full refurbishment of the site, they knew that it was going to be empty for a few years. So that's why they used this opportunity of vacancy to experiment new uses for the future. And these are other examples of projects that were managed or that are managed today by Plateau Urbain. So it's mostly office buildings, also former warehouses, former public equipments such as public baths, schools, and so on.
Maybe just to tell you that half of these buildings are owned by public or local authorities, and half are promoters or developers.
Maybe you want to. Okay. The plea for dissemination of this tool, it's really like for Plateau Urbain, transient urbanism is a tool. It's not a final object. It's not an ideal project. It's a tool to help public powers and public actors build and make different, build differently the city, and focusing on the existing fabric, existing buildings, and also addressing publics who need to have access to the center parts of the cities, which cannot, which are most of the time put aside. So, for example, in Paris, there was the project of Les Grands Voisins, which is when you look for Plateau Urbain on the internet, it's the most famous project still today. It's Les Grands Voisins. It used to be a hospital, and Plateau Urbain was part of the managing team with another Yes We Camp, which is another organization. And the city of Paris started to focus on that project and said, there's something interesting happening there. It's proving that it's working. It has a positive impact on the neighborhood and on the people using the site. So the city and the municipality of Paris asked to these partners to write a manifesto and like a charter for upcoming projects. So today there's it's an obligation for owners. It's part of the brief when you want to make a project in Paris, like a renovation project of a site. You need to address this transient urbanism goal. So this was made because this experiment of this project was successful. But not all the projects are successful, as Mathias said. It's always an experiment, and that's how we learn also how to renegotiate some of the project, reorientate some of them, and always improve how we work and how to make it more efficient.
So at the beginning, our experiments were a bit like crazy for the local authorities and so on. And finally, they said, okay, it's interesting. And it's even more interesting that we're going to make it our own policy. So now, every year, there are new public or local owner who sign the manifesto, and local developers also. It began at the scale of Paris city center, and now it's on the larger metropolitan area. So it's a way to spread our kind of our practice, because there are such social effects and environmental effects that it begin to be taken as a real interest for the public policies. So in Lyon, for example, the whole metropolis use it a lot. It's a proper public policy with several persons working in the métropole de Lyon to develop this kind of practice. So now Lyon, it's 1 million inhabitants, if you mind. So here, right now, there are 45 projects of temporary urbanism, temporary occupation, either for housing, here it's women with young child, than some more fancy stuff, more nudge, placemaking, etc. So as you see, the president of Métropole of Lyon is like saying it's his own business, and it's really written in all the local discourses. We made the atlas of sites of temporary occupation and temporary urbanism for the Métropole de Lyon. Here you see the different sites, and here it's a visualization. I know architects love this kind of stuff. When you see every site and which is the team, a main team, so economy, green, hospitality, art, culture, etc. You see how long it is, and you see so many stuff at the same time that I can't see. But it's interesting to see how much it's integrated in the local policies. Now we are now trying also to make bonds with partners in Europe who are doing the same thing at the same time with the same mind. So the same mind means developing this kind of project in a social purpose. So we are really glad to, then there are some artistic purpose and so on, but it's way more interesting when you can bring social purpose in this kind of projects to build alternative proposition in cities in Europe. So here it's a work in progress. We are right now trying to draw this map. So if you have new ideas of people or partners in Europe who are doing this kind of stuff, we can talk after around the drink.
Yeah, maybe we're going to be longer in time, but we're going to make it brief and concise. So now we're going to go to the part where we are going to show you a lot of photographs. There are a lot of slides, but we are going to go quite quick on most of them. But to illustrate this idea of how these transient projects can participate into placemaking, because it's the topic of the event, so we wanted to make it accurate to this topic. So with the example of the creative sector, the mission of Plateau Urbain and such operators is to provide places so people can create, like creative people, because they need space. They need space to imagine and to work. Not only they need space to exhibit or to showcase, but they need spaces to work, and they not always they have a very they don't have an income that allows them to have their space. A lot of for Paris, a lot of independent workers in the field of creation, they work from their home, and we know that it's not always easy to work from home when you're an independent worker. So by providing places for independent workers to share and to have enough space to work, we contribute to that mission. So it's hosting these artists and people who have precarious situations, because the housing market and the real estate is so high in Paris. So it's this solidarity aspect of the mission to provide these spaces. And then also they can experiment new ways of creating their art. And few examples, like this was a former factory of cauldron, making cauldron in Lyon, and it was used for 4 years, and there were some craftsmen, some artists using the space. Unfortunately, at the end of the project, the building was demolished, which was quite uncertain during the project. There was always some rebounds in the story, but in the end it was demolished. Other example, these are the interior spaces. So they were really there's a strong sense of ownership from the occupants all the time. When you open the site, it's fully empty, but very quickly, in few days, a lot of objects, a lot of things are appearing upon the walls and in the space of this. There's a strong sense of ownership in the places. And in the Halles des Girondins was 1,000 square meters, and there were about 20 occupants sharing spaces. And other places we're going to go very briefly, but to show the variety of uses, like people working with wood, with ceramics, with fabric, painters. Also, it's important that these spaces can contribute to culture and creation itself as a way of showcasing and exposing the creation, the activity that is made, with a diversity of views and opportunities for people to show what the people are doing, and for different publics, which are often from far apart of the neighborhood, meaning that these projects are considered to be attractive, affordable, and very inclusive. It's a way to prefigurate how the neighborhoods can change and change the image of places. When there was some stigma, we mentioned that yesterday by visiting the quarter you were presenting, the Brno Bronx, how you change the image of an area by implementing new uses. You change the identity and you enhance this sense of belonging to a place by changing a positive aspect of it. So those are examples of some events that take place in our places. This was a former car garage, and we turned it into a runway for fashion shows. But there were not professional models. There were people from different NGOs volunteering for the runway, and this creates also new imaginaries for the places. So it opens and it broadens the imaginary of the places. In a former church also there were some events addressing the queer people communities who wanted to organize a festival and they couldn't find a place, so we welcomed them in this former church. So it was also very symbolic to have this kind of events in such a place. And with dance performances, some workshop with different people. I can go so on. There are so many things happening. That's, for example, a concert that was happening outside the church in the former convent of the Villagerie, which Mary and the girls visited in July. This is a Césure. This is a former auditorium that hosts a lot of events, a lot of conferences, with many publics, and this year there was a lot of major events. There was, but also the occupants of the building can use these premises. That's part of the contract of the occupation. It's not only for outside organizations. It's for everyone to use. And in the end, it's how this development of cultural and craft activities have a sociological and economical impact, because they use the activities, like the space. You start small and then you can develop your activities and you are feeling safe economically, because you can afford a place where you can work, and paying the monthly or the yearly rent is not a pressure for you, because it's cheaper. Still you have to pay it, but it's cheaper, so you are focusing on developing your activity, focusing your projects, focusing your partnership. And we know that when you are starting your activity, this is something that you are very struggling with. So this is very important for any sector, like creation, but also solidarity and health. We also have some health workers too in some of our sites. So it participates to enhance this economy for the independent actors, and also welcoming publics which are not often welcome in some urban neighborhoods. And it's the opposite of gentrification, because we were quite often not accused, but there were some comments saying that, okay, Plateau Urbain, it's an activity for hipsters or for people participating into the gentrification. But in fact it's the opposite, because the project that we show, they are taking part in the center of Paris, in some areas, like for example the 5th quarter or the 1st quarter. It's areas where people who have quite a large income, and by bringing these publics in this neighborhood, it's changing the dynamics economically. So it's a very important impact economically and sociologically. Yes, we're just going to show you some images of the project addressing these issues. Les Grandes Voisines, which is the feminine version of Les Grands Voisins as a reference, but it's in Lyon. It's a former hospital also, and a shelter, like an accommodation shelter for people. There are about 600 people living in this place. And other examples addressing solidarity issues, like welcoming people in need, like a shelter, really this idea of shelter among everything.
I think our time is over now. So as you see, it's social. A lot of social proposition. We have even an hotel run by people who lived there to welcome the city. So some do's and don'ts if you want to build this kind of project. It's what we want to say to you. Maybe do first. So first, it's to set clear goals for you first, but also with your partners and especially with the owners. And if the goals are not that clear, everything can happen, but not in a good way. So the goals and the purpose, and to share the true goals of your project is so important. Then, as we said, strong and diverse economic model, because it has to be resilient, and that's also why we are quite famous for in our sector, is to build a model so strong that you can provide a lot of risk, and that's what just said before, because we are reusing old buildings. No one wants this kind of building, and then we are taking it for 2, 3, 4 years. So we have to provide a lot of risk. If you can't imagine all the risks that can happen during the whole project, you are avoiding something. So you have to put risk on your economical model on so many levels. If, I don't know, the water breaks, if the heating system has a problem, if so it's a way to build a strong economical model. Build trust with the owner. To have the key, it's the key of the building is really rough, but you have to be transparent. We are having a transparent economical model from the beginning with the owner, but also with the people who are in the workshops and who have offices in our building. So everyone knows everything. So it's a good way to prevent problems during the whole occupation. Meet your neighbors from the beginning, because when we have one angry neighbor against what you are doing, it can be quite complicated, the police and so on. So we are trying to bring the neighbors and to try to understand what they can gain or what they can win and to be part of the project from the beginning. Mix the use of space as much as possible. It's a way to have a richer community. And then support the creation and monitoring the community until the end of the project, if there is one. So we are also trying to help the community to find some other place at the end of the project sometimes. We are working a lot on evaluation, because when you say you are experimenting stuff, we love all experimenting, but no one loves evaluation. So you have to take seriously the question of evaluation. Architects don't like it usually. So we developed a lot of tools of measuring impact, social impact especially, because it's the most complicated to evaluate social impact of the project, but that's what these kind of projects are aimed or built to. So we developed a lot of measure of impact on each project from the beginning. As soon as the goals are set, you have to launch your evaluation, and it's also a way to each year after year reorganize the team to be sure that we still have the same objectives.
And briefly the don'ts, but it's important to have them in mind. Don't think too big. It's okay, that's a matter of scale. Maybe we'll go more in detail for this aspect in the roundtable, but the scale, you can have a great impact with a small scale project, beginning with a house, for example. This is the very first project of Plateau Urbain 11 years ago. It was a house with 4 rooms, and it started like that. Also, don't go too fast, like prioritize, well, set the priority on one part of the building if it's a large building, because it's where you can test and start very carefully, but with efficiency. Don't be too optimistic, because sometimes you're going to have to deal with this pleasant aspect of the building, but be realistic about it. Like, how do you tackle this issue, but make it possible to use this space? And optimism is a key for this project, but if you are too optimism, you're a bit far from reality. So it's always a balance, but you have to keep optimist because it's the way the project go on. Don't forget also to anticipate the closure and the happy ending of the project. This is also a core value in Plateau Urbain. It's okay, you get the keys from a building, but you have to bear in mind that you're going to give them back at the end of the project. So everything is organized so that the project is a success, and that in the end the owner gets his key back, and that the building is still in shape. This is the ideal solution, but and it's exactly like Mathias insisting on that. It's the condition that you will be allowed to develop other projects in other places, in other cities. It's because they are happy endings, because it's temporary, it's transient urbanism. Some of the projects, like it's getting more and more frequent that the projects are extended in time and also permanent. But at first you don't know this, and you test, you readjust the focus. As a quick conclusion, why are these places important? Because they are places of solidarity, places of mixity, places of experimentation and inclusivity. This idea of giving love, like how you care for a place, is important, even if it's in bad shape. It's sending a message of a positive message and a message of love, but also a message of hope that you can continue developing the city and have a capacity of having a great impact with a frugal and economical approach. So that was our manifesto for today. Thank you.